all out of them. It's like taking a lion from the jungle that's used to running in the fields and chasing animals and everything and sticking it in a zoo. And after a while, what will happen to that lion? It just goes and it walks from this side, 5 feet, turns around, and that has become its life. And this is what this culture has done to us. But it has done it in such a pretty way that we don't realize it has even happened. That we have had the fight ripped right out of us. And we have become placid and docile when that was not what Christianity was supposed to be. The Bible is so particular in how it talks about running a race aggressively, about war, about all of these things. Not about kicking back in your beach chair. Right? Now, I'm not against relaxing. Relaxing is awesome. But relax with a shotgun in the one hand and a spiritual rocket launcher in the other. Amen? Since moving to the land of the free, I've been overwhelmed by the opportunities to be enslaved. Listen to what I'm saying. Since moving to the land of the free, America, I've been overwhelmed by the amount of opportunities to be enslaved. And I'm going to explain what I mean. I have never heard so much drivel about God, His Word, and how we are supposed to live our life in all my life. And it's not only America. If you take Europe or anything like that, this is where I am. I did not know how useless and small and unattached and uninvolved God was until I came here. Does anyone else know what I'm talking about? Now, I'm not saying South Africa is better than America, not at all. Right? There's a reason that the rand is 7 rand to $1. Okay? But we didn't know that God couldn't do things. We knew that God was the God of the impossible, and so when you face the impossible, well, then you pray to God and then you just let Him do it. We didn't know that there was a time limit in prayer, that once you reached 7.5 minutes, well, then God wasn't answering your prayer. I remember praying for a video game, and we prayed until the video game worked. There wasn't, well, I've prayed 1 hour, I've prayed 2 hours. There was no limitation. Where did we read about the limitation in the Bible, that if you've endured 3 days, then obviously it's not for you? We've got examples of Abraham enduring 20 years. Joseph, however old he was. Right? These are the examples that have been given to us. But we then have the promise of the most faithful being in the universe, that He is going to come through for us. Where did we get this idea of time limits? Amen? It came secretly and slowly through the culture that we are living in. Because the culture, it's like a cyanide. Who knows what cyanide is? Who's ever had cyanide? I think I might have had some, I'm not sure. Cyanide is a tasteless poison that if you keep giving it a little bit, eventually you can kill someone. And that's exactly what's happened. If you look back to 1920, 1930, 1940, watch how the cyanide is slowly injected into the culture, slowly, to the point that we are now. How does culture change? When we decide to make a change. You are the culture. I am the culture. Do you realize that? It's not just MTV that's driving the culture. We choose the culture that we are going to have. We live in a town that's got 6,000 people year round. Do you know that this church has enough people to affect the culture? And besides that, if you come from a person where you are the only person, you have a God big enough to affect the culture. Think about Jonah. The guy goes into a city that God's about to destroy, preaches a message, and the entire city repents. That's a light. That is a light. Now tell me why that can't be you or be I. Amen? I'm certain that the devil has scientists, philosophers, and professors who spend all day thinking up elaborate reasons why people can stay in the state that they are. Who knows what I'm talking about? For every You know, for something that you just used to say, get over it, now there's like a medical condition that takes you 5 minutes just to say it. And then it's like daunting. Oh, you've got da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh. Where before the father just slapped the kid on the back and said, go outside and play. Do you see what I'm saying? The devil has given names to things, and as soon as something has a name, well then it's real. The stray dog, you don't care if the stray dog gets run over, but if Molly the little German princess got run over, oh my goodness, then it's terrible. Who knows what I'm saying? As soon as something gets a name, gets a character, well then suddenly it takes root in our lives. We live in a culture whose support structure is built out of the material of excuses. Who knows that? As I've been preparing this message, and I actually wanted to speak about honesty and integrity today, but I thought I'd better speak about excuses first. Otherwise, when I teach that, people will be coming up with excuses why it doesn't apply to them. Right? Do a test. Every time you give a reason why something can't be done, from sport to work to godliness, write down that reason and you'll be shocked how many excuses you come up with in a day. Just try it. Even if you think they are legitimate, give it a try. Now, please, as I'm giving examples and stuff like that, you have to understand that there have been legitimate excuses given. Like the first person who said, the dog ate my homework. It was legitimate. The dog really did eat his homework. But then it caught on, and suddenly dogs across the world were eating homework. In fact, the president of the Youth League in South Africa said that happened to his taxes. The dog ate his taxes, and he couldn't hand them in. That is a true story. Unbelievable. Amen? There aren't nearly enough crutches in the world for all the lame excuses. A dog bites a child, and the owner of the dog comes and says it's not the dog's fault because the dog had 2 fathers, and the dog was born outside on the grass. So you can understand the dog's got a lot of pent-up rage. You think I'm kidding? Right? Has anyone heard a lame excuse lately? More importantly, has anyone given a lame excuse lately? We think that an excuse is validated if we can tell it to someone and they go, oh, wow. Well then, we've got a rock solid thing that we can pull out every time. Right? Who knows what I'm talking about? Who here has made excuses? We live by these excuses, and we think that we're fooling the other person or we're getting out of something, when the truth is the only person who is being disadvantaged is ourselves. Amen? A person is rude, totally self-centered, and their excuse is that they didn't get enough hugs as a child. Come here, let me hug you, and get on with your life. You see, but because we get professionals on TV, because Oprah does a whole series about people who weren't hugged enough as a child, then it becomes an acceptable excuse, where back in 1910 or 20, whenever the First World War was, if you rocked up and said, no, I can't join the army, I didn't get enough hugs as a child, they'll shoot you on the spot. Right? Just because the world accepts your excuse, don't think it's not a lame excuse. We were watching this video about the lost boys of Sudan. Oh my goodness. The Muslim government gave an order to kill all the boys 10 and under in the entire country. This isn't that long ago. This isn't Bible times Herod. 24,000 boys ran away. 12,000 of them arrived. That means 12,000 of them died. When they arrived, they were stick figures. There were 8-year-old boys, 7-year-old boys looking after 2- and 3-year-old boys. Do you see? Where there's no room for excuse, you'll make a plan. These guys crossed rivers when they couldn't swim. When they couldn't drink anything, they drank each other's urine. You go, oh, that's terrible. When you are willing to give up on excuses, That is right at the point when you are about to experience the life that God created for you. Because the life He created for you cannot be obtained by people who make excuses. Do you realize that? So I said to my wife when we were watching this, and my daughter is looking like she needs to be exorcised from something and screaming because she didn't get enough juice or chips or something. And I'm thinking about these children walking across the desert, her age, having to look after a baby or something like that. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. Do you hear what I'm saying? What we put up with, what we accept. A child is behaving badly or something like that, and we'll come up with excuses to protect that child being a brat. Right? No, it's, the child, it's going through whatever it is. No, what the child needs is what the Bible said, that folly is bound up in the heart of a child, and the rod will drive it out. But you see, that got thrown out with the culture. Oh, don't hit the kid. Clint told you about the story. He disciplined Faithy in Las Vegas. I thought we were going to be arrested right there on the spot. People were horrified. Here's this abusive father. So because we are scared of the culture, we pull back on what God has told us to do. Now, I'm not speaking about anything that I'm not facing myself. Right? Let me tell you what. If you want to hear excuses, I will give you excuses that will drop your jaw. I will make them sound so amazing, so scientific, and inject a "thou said this," and you will be amazed. But the only person who doesn't benefit is me. I'm the one who misses out. Amen? Gluttony is called obesity with an underactive thyroid. Sounds so professional. McDonald's is being sued for making people fat. Wow. How stupid is this culture? Did McDonald's hijack you, tie you up in their basement and feed you Big Macs? Well, then I'm going to sue Ben and Jerry's because they made me fat too. Do you see what I'm saying? And because it's accepted, because some numbskull judge said, you're right, they did make you fat and passed the law, now everybody came out of the closet and said, no. The only person who made you fat was yourself. I can't blame my wife for making me fat. Right? It's because when she made dinner, I had 2 dinners. Do you see what I'm saying? We have nobody to blame but ourselves. And that's not a condemnation thing. That's a freedom thing. Because when I realize that nobody is holding me back from achieving what God has put me on this earth to do, I am free to let Him now take me where I need to be. Amen?